A lot is going on the Capitol Hill, primarily politicians making suggestions. And one of them is from Tennessee Senator Lamar Alexander, who is pushing for the end of the minimum wage. That's correct. He wants to eliminate the minimum wage, a dramatic move that he says will improve employment, especially among low-skilled workers. Well, joining us now is Stacy Swimp. He's president of the Frederick Douglass Society, which is a conservative public policy organization. He opposes minimum wage. Stacy, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I understand the argument, and I've heard it over time, and I've seen the studies, that when you raise the minimum wage, it does decrease minority employment. But you want to eliminate it altogether? How does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. Anything that impedes the ability for businesses to keep costs down to consumers, impedes the ability of people to hire folks, you would think it's a bad idea. Interesting, I heard a comment from you earlier before I came on the show about the so-called first black president, but he supports from Africa to Harlem to Detroit to Miami policies that have the harshest effect on black workers who tend to be the most vulnerable. Because I'll tell you what, every time minimum wage goes up, in particular, black teenagers can't get jobs.
Well, there's some studies that say that the Employment Policy Institute was widely quoted a couple years ago that when you raise the minimum wage by 10%, it decreases minority employment by 6%. But if you eliminate minimum wage, yeah, you're going to create more jobs, but aren't those jobs going to be extremely low wage?
Not necessarily. The free market will take care of itself. Do you understand that we have so many regulations and organizations that enforce regulations, the EEOC, labor organizations, lawsuits all the way from the Supreme Court? I'm not concerned about that. What I am concerned about is government picking winners and losers and saying that they're helping us, but they're really killing small and medium-sized businesses. And at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're putting teenagers in a position where they can't get jobs. When teenagers can't get jobs, we know the end result.
So you're for basically the elimination of minimum wage, but there are studies that also say that by raising the minimum wage, people spend more. They have more money to spend. They put it back into the economy. So if you take that away, won't consumer spending go down?
Well, that's actually a ridiculous argument. I want you to think about that just for a minute.
Well, wait a minute, sir. But conservatives always say that when you cut taxes and put more money into people's pockets, they're going to spend more. So why isn't the argument the same?
We're not, but that's a straw man argument in the sense that we're not talking about taxes. We're talking about getting jobs. If we have more people in the unemployment line, that means we have fewer people spending money. That's just a common sense argument. More people unemployed, fewer people spending money. That argument doesn't make any sense.
Okay, Stacy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to have you back on the program again. Stacy Swimp, the president of the Frederick Douglass Society. And the